Greetings, everyone. Today I'm going to be looking at Open Mandriva. Open Mandriva Linux, the ROME edition. ROME is a rolling release version. This video is a little bit poignant for me as I cut my Linux teeth, so to speak, on Mandrake Linux. It was the predecessor of Open Mandriva and Mandriva. It was from the last century. While Mandrake Linux is no longer around, Open Mandriva is one of several distributions, including Alt Linux, Magia, and Rosa, still carrying on the torch for Mandrake. So we're going to take a look at that today. It's, like I say, it's been a while. Forgive me if I indulge in a little history here. Like I say, this is reminiscent for me. You can find time marks in the description below if you want to skip this part. But Mandrake was originally based on Red Hat. It was released in 1998. It introduced several configuration tools that made Linux easier to use. It was considered one of the one of the first early easy-to-use, user-friendly distributions back before Ubuntu, which came out in 2004. Like I say, Mandrake, 1998. Due to legal issues in 2004, the name was changed to Mandrake Linux, one word, all small letters. Someone else was using Mandrake as a logo or a trademark or something. In 2005, Mandrake Soft, the parent company making Mandrake Linux, was acquired by Connectiva. At this point, the name was changed to Mandriva Linux. Unfortunately, the last official release of Mandriva Linux was in 2011, after which the company laid off most of its developers. Open Mandriva came into existence as a community-based distribution in 2012, initially based on the last release of Mandriva. So, went from Mandriva to Open Mandriva. Open Mandriva ROME is a rolling release that was initiated in 2023. There is also a slim version of ROME with far less pre-installed applications. That's probably the one I'm going to install today. They have another distribution called Rock, which is more of a stable release cycle sort of distribution, not a rolling release. And same as ROME, it has a slim version also. Just Rock has slightly older software because, like I say, it has a release schedule. Note that both ROME and Rock use KDE Plasma by default, and there are server versions of ROME and Rock also with no GUI or additional applications installed by default. As I said, I think I'm going to be installing Open Mandriva ROME Slim for this video. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the website here. Fat fingers, okay. Open Mandriva. We're looking at the ROME and the Slim version, okay. Now that takes us straight to the Open Mandriva website, not to the downloads. So, well, it does to the ROME download, but yeah, not what I was looking for. Let's go ahead and go to the top level of this website and take a look around a bit. Okay, here comes Rock, ROME and Rock. Okay, Open Mandriva. Got some pictures here. Okay, let's go to the download page again. So there's quite a few different versions here to look at. Rock, it looks like your stable home version. ROME is a rolling release. Then you got something called Cooker, which is development. And then Spins, I'm guessing those are different desktops, just a guess. And then we've got the server release, which I'm guessing doesn't have a desktop. Okay, if we look at Rock, yeah, this is a stable release, suitable for workstations. We've got a Plasma 6 and a Plasma 6 Slim available for this version. So that's going to, basically the Slim version is going to have less apps installed. So let's go talk about ROME, and that's the rolling release one. And again, we have a Plasma and a Plasma Slim version. So yeah, ROME. And Cooker, what is Cooker? Cooker is the Open Mandriva, that's a development branch. So that's where all the testing stuff is. And again, they've got a Plasma and a Plasma Slim there too. Okay. And Spin. Spins is the next one. And oh, Spin, yeah, I was right. Spins are just different desktops. Do not expect every blah blah. So these are not officially supported, but these are community things. So we've got GNOME, LXQT, Cosmic, XFCE, Mate, Cinnamon, Bungee. Okay. And of course, the server version, Rock, Rome, a Rome Rock, and Cooker. Okay. And again, that's server without a GUI. So let's go to Rome, and we want ROME Slim, and we've got Slim available. ROME Slim in Plasma 6 or Plasma 5 for x86. We'll go with the Plasma 6 for x86. And this takes us to this page, and this one confused me a little bit. This is the ROME ISO, but I click over here, we're on the same page. To actually get to the download link, something I can actually download, I had to click on the build ID. Yeah, and that took us to where we could actually find the ISO file, as well as the the MD5 checksums and the SH8 256 checksums. So we'll go ahead and download both of those. And while they're downloading, we'll go ahead and look around the site, see what else is here. Yeah, basically, yeah. You might always want to look around the site a little bit just to see what's going on. So, yeah. Open Mandriva, why Open Mandriva? It's a pretty nice looking site. Okay, we'll go ahead and close this down. And next thing we want to do is create our virtual machine. So I went ahead and I put everything in the folders it's got to go into for my Virt Manager. If you want to learn about how Virt Manager handles pools and things like that, you can look at my Olama video, which is a little earlier. But we want to go ahead and start Virt Manager. Then we're going to create a new virtual machine, and we're going to do it from an ISO file. So I need to go to the ISO pool, and I'm going to have to refresh it. So I'm going to have to browse for this. If we just downloaded it, move it over there, it won't actually be in the list. And there we have that. And since Open Mandriva doesn't actually have an entry in the OS type, we're going to go with generic Linux 2024. This basically sets what the actual default parameters are going to be for the virtual machine. So next we're going to look at the memory and CPUs in the wizard here. So since we're running KDE Plasma 6, we're going to go with 8 gigs of memory and 4 CPUs. Just make sure we got enough resources. If we're going with server, that would have worked fine. Then we create the virtual machine. This is the disk. We're going to use the select or create custom storage as opposed to the manual one, because the manual one stores it in the default folder for Virt Manager. We want to store it in our VM store. So we'll create our disk and we'll give it 40 gigabytes. And then before we move on, we're going to click the customize configuration before install so we can look at some stuff. And that brings us to this page here. We're not going to really change anything here except for make us a UEFI instead of BIOS, as UEFI is a newer standard. And in reality, the BIOS for a common household desktop user, you're not going to see the difference between that and UEFI unless you got really, really large hard drives or lots and lots of partitions. But yeah, we're going to use a newer standard. And we come to the no bootable media found. Press any key to enter the boot manager. And this is something you see with different Linux distributions. You don't see it with like Debian or Ubuntu or Fedora, but you do see it with like OpenSUSE or Open Mandriva in this case. What you need to do here is you need to go into the firmware setup. You want to find the secure boot, and you want to uncheck attempt secure boot. I don't know why Boot Manager has this checked by default. I haven't really looked around in the configurations, but there's probably a way to change this. I'll have to look one of these days. Just uncheck that. And then we'll power off. We'll have to reset the ISO image because that will clear when we do this. And then we can run, and we end up right there in the installer for Open Mandriva. Well, actually, I guess it's live mode, and then we install from live mode. So that's the next. Okay, live mode and boots us into the KDE desktop, Plasma desktop, whatever you want to call it. We've got the OM welcome open. We'll actually take a look at that a little later. I'm going to go ahead and go to full screen, and we're going to look through this kernel, KDE Plasma, LibreOffice, which isn't actually, well, we'll see. It shouldn't be installed with the Slim version, but configuration, there's a few tabs on here. And like I say, we're going to come back to this. Right now, let's just hit install Open Mandriva, and that will bring us to the installer. First thing you need to do is check your language, which will be English for me, American English specifically. We'll set the time zone. I'm on the East Coast, so New York. Keyboard, English, US, yeah, standard for me. Like these are going to vary depending on where you are in the world. And then next we come to the disk partitioning, and this we're going to go with erase disk instead of manual partitioning. We're just going to let the installer take care of this instead of trying to set something up ourselves. Simplest way, and since this is a VM and a test, that's the way I'm going to go. Now we need to enter our username, or login name, password. You have the choice here to set up a root account with a root password. It would be basically don't check use the same password for the administrative account. If you do that, then you set your user password. And I'm pretty sure they load sudo and set that up. If you don't check this and you add a root password, then sudo may or may not be set up, but you do get a root account. At least one that's not disabled. So we'll fill that out. Everything summary, we'll look through, looks good. And then we'll go ahead and do the install. This will take a few minutes. Then we reboot. Let's go ahead and log into now that we're at the KDE login screen, which is SDM, I believe, still. I'm just going to leave it at Plasma X11 since we're just testing here. Not go over into Wayland. First thing I'm going to do is check to not start this welcome. It's in the menus, so you don't need to start this when you boot up. Next, since it's KDE, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the screen resolution and go to full screen on my virtual machine. Okay, looking good so far. We can open the Info Center, and we can see what we got running here. Plasma 6.3.4, Qt 6.9, kernel, all our stuff here. Okay. And we're using about 1.4 gigabytes of memory and about 11% of our CPU. Chromium's a web browser installed by default. I guess if you want Firefox or something else, or just Chrome, you have to do that yourself. But system, Drake tray, DNF Drake. I had to look these up. These are basically Open Mandriva's software store, so to speak. This combines with your welcome to let you load most of the software. Something you just have to experiment around with, because the only repository checked in DNF Drake is the main one, and if you use the welcome, you can get some of the other repositories checked by loading stuff like, for example, Steam, which is out of the non-free section. And DNF Drake tray is the basically it's just the notifier for it. Okay, yeah, web browser works. We're online. What else we got here? Only got Ocular, so there's very little actually installed in the way of applications here. We'll open DNF Drake, which is basically the software store. As I said, you'll notice we can, like LibreOffice, you got 3 tabs up here: installed, not installed, update. Surprised there's not an all tab, but there isn't. And yeah, we can just go through. We're using RPM packages. I'm guessing a lot of these come straight from Fedora, maybe. And these are the repositories. Like I say, the main one's checked. Extra, restricted, and non-free are not by default. So if we go to the welcome and we'll say we install Steam, this is going to actually check the non-free in our DNF Drake, and it will install Steam. You have to give a password. And let's go ahead and fire up a terminal and see what kind of terminal stuff we've got here. Top. Go ahead and run fast fetches here. Yeah, there's this fast fetch. And Neo Fetch, and they both look quite similar. That's interesting. I'm guessing they were adjusted. We say we have top, we have HTOP. System updates. Yeah, a lot of stuff in the welcome you can get through and set up outside of the normal KDE system. Okay. That's Mandriva seems to have a pretty standard KDE. They've got some extra utilities. Like I said earlier, Mandrake, when it was originally released, had some utilities to make things easier, so apparently that's carrying through here. And it works, it sets up, everything seems to run, so looks like it runs good too. I have to check out the like I said, I'm guessing the majority of the packages come from Fedora. Some of them I know are probably recompiled or reset up for Mandriva itself, but I'll have to look into that. So that's about it for Mandriva. Okay, it's been an interesting couple of days testing out and evaluating Open Mandriva. And here at the end, there's a few points I would just want to highlight for everyone. So while Mandriva does use DNF and RPM, I thought a lot of its packages came from Red Hat. Well, sort of right and sort of wrong there. A lot of its packages are sourced from Red Hat or Fedora, one of those two. They are recompiled, but they are sourced from Fedora, and Open Mandriva has its own repositories. That, I guess, makes it simpler to create the packages if they're already sourced. You don't have to do too much changing, but you can if you want. Another one I mentioned earlier, while the Open Mandriva website looks pretty good, I did have some problems with their download. It wasn't really apparent, at least for the novice user, that you need to click on the ID block to actually bring up the ISO to download. Some instruction to that means I may have passed over it. It may be there. I may have just skipped over it, but I didn't see anything for that. So that's a minor thing. Another issue, well, I haven't really found it to be an issue, but maybe when I actually put it on bare metal, is that Open Mandriva is probably not going to be as compatible as other Linux distributions with the newer hardware. I mean, they've got a small development team, and in some cases, they actually use different compiler than most other Linux distributions use. So I haven't actually seen examples of this, but I question it. And like I say, I'll find out more about this when I try and install Mandriva on bare metal at some point. Having said all that, Mandriva does have some interesting tools, some interesting stuff for new users. It's, I think, a fairly new user-friendly distribution. I mean, there's a couple of points where things could be clarified a little in the install process, but overall, it's not bad. There's a lot of overlap between DNF Drake and the Welcome app and the KDE Plasma setup settings app. I'm not sure how I feel about that. In one case, if you're a new user, it gives you one place to go to find probably the most things you want to look for. But again, it might be a little confusing for new users that it overlaps with settings and with DNF Drake. I talked about Drake Tray also, but what I didn't talk about, there's also a flat Drake, which is basically the same thing as DNF Drake, but for flat packs. So that's also available. And like I say, when you use the Welcome app, for example, downloading Steam, it automatically turns on the non-free. It'll turn on the correct repository, even if it's not turned on by default. I mean, you can do the same thing yourself, but again, the Welcome app makes it easier for new users. And that's, I think, sort of what that's about. So even though I'm running the VM on somewhat limited resources, I know some people might say 8 gigabytes and 4 cores is not limited. I mean, well, GPU limited, let's say, but it's running smoothly and it's running well, and I haven't really had any problems with it. Again, that's on the that's on the virtual machine, and as I did point out, there is an issue with the virtual machines. I've seen the same thing on VirtualBox as well as Virt Manager, where they it has to do with turning on secure boot. You want it off for Mandrake, or not Mandrake. You want it off for Open Mandriva. Mandrake, still last century. I do miss it though. So overall, I'm pleased with the performance. And I really like the Slim version because it doesn't have a lot of apps installed. I like to choose my own apps that fit my workflow. And if I installed the larger ROME full version with all the apps, I'd probably be deleting a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the Slim version. Just enough, but not too much. I'm not sure about Chromium as a choice for a browser. I'll have to play around with that. I normally use Firefox, but 6 of one, half dozen of another, I guess. Anyways, that's about it for this video. One note, I got my plane tickets to the Philippines already, so I'll be leaving the United States in early November and heading back. And I got a lot of projects to get started once I get back there, which I'll be doing videos on. So you'll see those probably. This is July, August, September, October, November. Probably 5 to 6 months they'll start coming out. We'll see. Anyway, like this video, subscribe, comment. Does a lot to help the channel. Not that I'm really looking to impress anybody, but yeah, it does help. And I especially like the comments. Always like hearing from people. Anyway, we'll catch you all next time.